Hey everyone, Meteorologist here in Tuttle back with you. Is about 7:10. The National Weather Service is going to be issuing a tornado warning. So we're going to discuss where that tornado warning is occurring, where it's going to be, who it's going to be affecting, and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for joining me. We're going to be covering probably these storms off and on here for this evening, and that's just going to be something we're going to have to deal with until probably maybe close to midnight in far southeast Oklahoma. So just getting things set up here. All right. Okay, so let's get this going here. Thanks again for joining me on YouTube and all of the other platforms that we're live on. Okay, so let's see here. Just finished up eating, so this was good timing. So we're down into Cole County for this particular tornado warning. So this is going to be near the town of Colgate. The particular tornadic storm is around Tupelo to the south between there and Clarita. So if we look at the velocity data, we're going to pick out where this tornado is located, or at least potential tornado. This is not visually confirmed, this is radar confirmed, and this is an area of circulation. Let's see, right here is the area of interest. This would be the where the velocity data is changing colors. They bunch up to one another with red and green. So this is what we're going to kind of focus on for this particular tornado. And then the Weather Service draws a track line of where this particular storm will go over. Now, if we do look currently at the track line, we're in open trees. Again, I love it when these tornadoes that occur are open farmland where there is nothing in their way. No people, no buildings, no structures, just trees and open land. So this particular warning is in that case right now. So that's the first thing. Here's the actual wordage on that. So this is from the National Weather Service. Tornado warning for central Cole County and southeastern Oklahoma. Severe storm capable of producing a tornado located 4 miles north of Olney, moving northeast at 25. This is radar indicated. Colgate and central Oklahoma in the path of this particular potentially tornadic storm. So be in your shelters for this. In our last cut-in, I told you where to go, how to protect yourself and your family in those cases. So again, thanks for watching on YouTube Live, also Facebook Live, and Twitter Live. It used to be Periscope, but now it's just kind of Twitter Live. Even though technically I think it runs in the Periscope backbone, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, glad to have you. Okay, so let's take a look here at if the only two communities probably popped up are the ones I mentioned. So that's like I said, it's over kind of an open area, so there's no major towns or cities at all, which is great in the immediate track of this particular storm. Let's see, hail potentials up around golf ball size. This is going to be coming up along Highway 3 that runs between Tupelo and Colgate here. And what we can do is we can take a look at some of the farm roads down this region. So this will be Boland Road, also Lakey Road. I think that popped up there. Yeah, Lakey Road. Let's see what else we got. Round Lake Road. So this will be the immediate path of the particular tornadic circulation. At least the mid-level circulation. The lowest level is there is a wall cloud, but this is just east of State Highway 48. I just don't see the tornado actual signature, so there's not currently a tornado, but the potential for one exists. Let's take a look on this particular map. Yeah, there's still nothing there in the data that suggests that will happen yet, which is good news. So we're just going to kind of sit here and watch it here for a few minutes and see how that goes. Let's see. So for now I'm going to quiet so I can read conversations from the National Weather Service, so I can make sure I give you the best information there is to pass along. Sometimes that includes reports from the field, from storm chasers, spotters, emergency management officials, fire departments, that kind of deal. And then usually just some behind the scenes discussions from fellow meteorologists over, what's important or what stands out any issues, that kind of thing. So every now and then I'll kind of get quiet. If it's something I can tell you, pass along, I will. So yeah, Holly. So what you're saying for that is that there's nothing drop down, correct? So what I do is I have all the TV stations popped up in front of me, 4, 5, and 9. So if they're helicopter shots or storm chaser shots have something, then I pull it up. And then I can, or just kind of glance up and see if they have a shot of the actual storm. Alright, so speaking of which, I do have a couple of storm chasers out this evening. I don't know if they're broadcasting live at this moment, so I'm going to go find out here. So you can do this as well anytime on my website, aarontutleweather.com, and go to the live stream tab. And when you do, you're going to see the live stream whenever I'm live, and then also you're going to see any of my storm chasers that are live. So it'll take a second for me to load because I'm hosing my bandwidth doing this broadcast. It'll be a little slower to load on my end than it will on your end. But let's take a look here. Alright, so Seth is out live chasing, so we'll pull his Facebook page up. And he was live, so he's not live currently. He was down near Ardmore earlier. This was the last time he went live was about 40 minutes ago. So we'll see. He's probably just getting back into position. And then Twisted Weather was also live. Actually, they're live right now. So we'll go take a look at what they're doing. And I can do that one of two ways. I can pot it up here from the website, or I can go to their actual page itself. So I'll probably pull up the page itself so I can quickly click over on the tab. Alright, so we'll watch for Seth's deal. And then Twisted Weather coming up. He is on Highway 31A in Ashland, Oklahoma. So that's his live feed. We'll pull that up when he gets into a vicinity of a potentially significant storm. And then I'll see if my buddy Jeff goes live on his YouTube page. He used to do Periscope a lot, but now he said he'd be doing this page. We'll see. He hasn't gone live yet. He's done little snippets on Twitter lately, but he hasn't gone on a full live on his YouTube. So he's down there, I think, in North Texas. Speaking of North Texas, jot down there real quick, reveals a tornado-warned storm around Rio Vista, around Blum. So this is a spotted tornado from storm spotters and also radar indicated by Doppler radar. Nice velocity couplet signature here. So you guys in Blum need to be in your shelters, and eventually Covington after about another 30 minutes or so, assuming that tornado still stays contained. So that would be near Cleburne and Grandview, so south of those two cities. This is south of Dallas-Fort Worth. Another storm near west of town. And then we've got other storms northwest of town in northeastern Dallas County, heading up toward McKinney. There's some strong thunderstorms there. In Aubrey, there's one around Prosper. It's got to look like a little bit of a hook trying to develop on it, so that one will likely be tornado warned at any point in time here soon. It's ramping up. It's North Prosper, south of Salina. Let's see here. So that's near County Road 5 and Dallas Parkway Tollway. So that's likely going to be a developing tornado there. So you guys might want to be in your shelter if you live near that storm. I'm sure the Weather Service will upgrade that here momentarily, assuming that that trend continues. So let's go back in Oklahoma real quick for the Colgate storm. Take a look at the velocity data on that one. There is one issue tonight I've noticed with the radar data. They're having some trouble. There's a lot of noise in the data. A lot of, I think, probably beam bending in the atmosphere is probably what's causing this, from the being behind the cold front and trying to sample storms on the other side of the cold front. And so that causes some radar ducting issues, and that just kind of causes for some messy velocity data, which can maybe sometimes picking out these little tornadoes or damaging wind events a little difficult, because we get a lot of erroneous splotches of color, like this one here east of Colgate. All this mess out here, it's all noise and nonsense that's being interjected into the radar beam, which makes my job a little harder and unfortunate, but we'll do what we can do. Let's see, up here south of Stewart, east of Gertie, there is some broad rotation here within this. So watch this area here. So if you live in Stewart, just kind of keep a heads up. If you live in McAlester, keep a heads up. Scipio, keep a heads up, because this will be the favored region. This here will be a favored track between these communities, right? And then depending on if it actually produces a tornado, it'll go a little bit south of east, or of northeast. So it'll be almost more easterly. So McAlester, kind of keep that in mind. The storm may be something you have to deal with, but it's going to be about an hour away from you. Otherwise, I do see some signs of some strengthening in the rotation department. All right, let's go back out here to Sulphur. There's some new development here. It's a big hailstorm, by the way. Looks like golf ball size hail for you guys in Sulphur. This is riding on the frontal boundary. No rotation within that. That would be tornadic, it looks like. Let's see. This is a few minutes ago. There was a rotating wall cloud. Okay, so that's south of Sulphur on 177. Just to the left, to the west. So there is a wall cloud with it, but no tornado. Probability of a tornado, though, for this particular storm is at 21%. That's the highest probability I've seen so far on those storms in Oklahoma. So that's a change in what we saw when we first did our cut-in, earlier this evening. This cluster mess to the east of that is grouped together all over the place is 11%, because there's like 3 cell merged storms. So algorithm's going to have a tough time with that one versus an easier time when they're dealing with just one storm by itself that they can circle. Our other storms in between, Johnston County, these are all just some heavy rain, some hail, and lightning and thunder, typical garden variety storms. It's just the ones that we're watching for here is around the Colgate area. Now, an update on where the potential tornado lies. Again, potential, because I think it's just a wall cloud at this point and has not touched down. Let's see here. So, give me a farm road. Polk Road, East Road 1680. Those are the best roads I can give you. Because remember, it's over open farmland and trees, so there's not a lot of roads out here. But that's the best I can do there. It just now updated. We're looking at kind of this area of interest here is where the particular tornado would be. Let's go to my other radar, and we'll see if we can't find another road. Avizzini Road and Polk Road. There we go. Avizzini. So there's an intersection where this particular tornado would be should it touch down. There you go. So there's a little bit better information. So then if you live Old 75 Road, that'll be the next intersection coming up after North Road 3830. Let's see, and then eventually it's a 31A, or 31, and then toward Wardville after that. Still watching the circulation broad, but still getting a little bit tighter, a little bit more closed off northwest of Ashland. So that's the other area I'd be watching. It's got a good down jet for it, for the rear downdraft. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family that they can watch live severe weather coverage online on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, especially if they live in eastern and southeastern Oklahoma, because we're obviously having some storms moving in that area here for the next few hours. And a couple of these will likely be tornadic. Let's take a look at this Johnston one. Everything's good there. And in the prior, I think I was on for about an hour and a half as we kind of discussed the atmosphere, the forecast, and what was going on down around Ardmore and North Texas. So I did talk about how you seek shelter from a tornado and what to look for and how to protect yourself. Let's see. So that one storm I mentioned down in Texas, they did issue a tornado warning on it. So let's go take a look at that one. So they had the right idea. It was actually its best circulation when I talked about it. Since then, that circulation center has actually diminished and moved east. But that's the way it goes. Very short-lived. Great news. Let me hit the rotation track on this. Go back. See where that green is? That's where it had the potential for a tornado at that point in time. It may or may not have. I don't see any confirmation on ground level, but that had its best shot at that point in time. Now it's that shot's over. which is fine. It could always change, but for right now, that's the way that looks. This is south of Salina. This is on South Road 289 and Choate Parkway is the intersection where this tornado is passing through. There is a neighborhood subdivision here that it's passing over. Let's see, new update came in. Really, let's see, let's try this. There's really no good couplet anymore. There would be one here on the east side, and it's gone. So this is the left side of the couplet, which is a good wind inbound, but the outbound wind is non-existent, so there is no tornado with that environment. It's not possible. But at least we know the general area, which is County Road, looks like 87, and the intersection of County Road 92. So that's where that tornado potential would be should it touch down. It's probably just a wall cloud right now, rotating wall cloud. This will be heading up toward Weston. This is north of Dallas. This is north of Prosper, heading up toward Anna here in North Texas. So north of McKinney, north of Dallas-Fort Worth. So luckily the two tornado storms that looks like they may have briefly produced a tornado, at least one, was only about a minute, and same thing with this one. So let's keep it on the short end. Now the one down here we talked about earlier, that has been the best look of these storms. So the other two, short-lived, convoluted mess. This one down here is more discreet, and it's well defined. So this is what we call gate-to-gate shear down here. In other words, the colors that we look for, the red and the green couplet is right next to one another. So that's what you look at for gate-to-gate shear. Again, this is south of Dallas-Fort Worth, just by a hair. So what we can do, let's do this. We're looking at V rotation of about 42 knots. So it's going to go with an algorithm prediction of an EF1 tornado. Now let's see if it did hit something, and it did. So here's the latest. What we could call tornado debris tracker. It's the cross correlation coefficient of the dual pole radar system. This blue area indicates debris, not rain. In other words, trees, homes, businesses, whatever it may be. So it did hit something. So right now the algorithm is forecasting EF1 strength on this. Now, what did it hit? It's over a bunch of trees. So it just ripped up a bunch of trees and threw them in the air. Great news. No homes, no businesses, nobody in its path. So that's good. Large tornado cone at this location. Several reports of tornado reported, likely looking northwest of the road. So in this open field, basically. There is a couple of farmhouses here just southeast of the circulation. So as long as it stays in the square mile north, they'll get missed. They might get a glancing blow of the wind that wraps around, but they won't get the actual tornado itself. So it looks like it's actually moved more to the north on a jog than to the east. So for example, in this particular case, the tornado was progged to go this direction. In reality, it went this direction. Just sometimes they do that. So when you're in the path of a storm, typically, if you're along this path, that's where you have to be concerned. That works out most of the time. There are times, however, when the tornado does not behave. In this case, it went northwest, so it did not behave. And for that, the backup plan is the fact that it's embedded in this very large polygon, like this, right? So this is the tornado warning. Even though the original track was moving something like this, the new track actually went like this. So if you're in the polygon, think of it as an error cone. In other words, just in case it doesn't go exactly according to plan, it's going to move somewhere within this box. So they issue a large box to cover that area. So that means everybody in this box is taking shelter, even though right now the only people seeing the potential tornadoes in this western end at this location. So that's how tornado warnings work from the National Weather Service in this particular case. And sometimes you can get an old circulation that gets pulled in and dies out, which may be likely what's happening with this one. And then you'll end up getting a new circulation on the southeast side, which looks like this is probably what's happening here. And so a new track will be issued for that one. But that's a developing new one, and I don't think that's doing much. The old one's going away, and if you look in this particular storm, there's some new structure happening, new organization where a new hook echo is trying to form here on the back end of the storm, and that may eventually take over and then trigger another tornado warning. So it's a mess because I think we've had a couple of cell mergers. If I look here, here's a decayed hook echo that may not have done anything, and then here's one here that was the warning was for, and then this may be a third one trying to develop. So there's a lot of mess going on down here within this storm, or cluster of storms as they've merged, which kind of disrupts everything. But regardless, that's where that potential traumatic activity is, which is south of Dallas-Fort Worth, which will likely be eventually heading toward Waxahachie, and then maybe clipping southeastern Dallas County. And then we'll see if anything else develops in between, but right now it looks like Dallas-Fort Worth is being spared from both north and south end storms. Back here on this northern one, we'll go through Selena again, and we'll see what that one's doing. Again, rotation with that one still non-existent, which is great. But still stay in your shelters, though, if you do live within that region of western Anna as that storm moves through, just in case it does produce another one. This little deal here in Prosper, this little info notch here, could actually do something. So we may end up getting a new tornado warning out of this particular area here, which is along North US 380 and North Coit Road. That's the intersection of this. Looks like probably a wall cloud. Might even be a funnel out of this. So that would be the new circulation taking over, and this other one died a while back. So you can see this is not in the original tornado polygon. This would be a new one that they'll have to add. So look for that to happen here in the next few minutes, assuming that trend continues. All right. Let's go back up here into Oklahoma, see what's happening with our storm. Okay, so we've got 2 tornado warnings now. So probably off that other one I spoke of. Yep, the one in Ashland, they did it. So they went ahead and issued a tornado warning for that storm, and I told you why earlier. Rotation was slowly tightening up. So we're looking at the intersection of North 391. Okay, just new scan came in, so it's just jumped east. Let's see, Road B and Road 5, which is about, looks like 8 miles west of Savannah. Wording on this one, tornado warning for southwestern Pittsburgh County and southeastern Oklahoma until 8. 726, a severe storm capable of producing a tornado located over Ashland, moving east at 25. We got Kiowa, Ashland, Arpalar, Savannah, and Haywood all in the path of this particular storm. Let's do an update here. It's not overly strong. It's a early bird stage warning. In other words, I still don't believe a tornado has occurred yet, but it's just getting tighter and tighter in the circulation. So this is a just in case. So go ahead and take this serious, but just know that currently there is not a sighted nor radar indicated tornado, technically. But it's close enough to where they're going to keep a warning going. So if you guys in McAlester again, you'll have to deal with this storm at some point here over about the next hour. Sirens have been set off for Haywood, Arpalar, and Kiowa areas, as a lowering has been spotted by a storm spotter over the Haywood Gate area. So lowering meaning wall cloud, not tornado. So this is basically the area of interest right here. So what happens is these are the winds feeding into the storm here, and these are the outflow winds feeding into here, and they're tightening up in this little circle area that I put on the map. If we go here, let's see here, if we can find on this radar. Alright, see if any of these roads come up. Well, that's road 4, and we had road 4 and 5. There's road C, 4, road E, C Tree Road, Road 3, Road F, C Tree, all just west of Savannah. That's where that particular tornadic circulation would be, should have touched down. So stay in your shelters if you live in Savannah for about the next, probably 10 minutes. as this storm approaches from your west. Again, if it moves more of a northeastward track, it's going to be making its way toward McAlester and Alderson. But you guys still have time for that to seek shelter, but at least now you're aware. And if you know someone, family that lives in that area, tell them to turn on the internet. Tell them to look up AT. He's covering a storm heading their way. Let's go. Yeah, they finally let that other storm die out. Remember the tornado warning down here that died a long time ago? They went ahead and they allowed it to expire, so they didn't cancel it. And they replaced it with a severe thunderstorm warning that has a tag on it, which means tornado possible, meaning that there's an old circulation there, and just in case it were to spin up a new one, it's kind of like a cover your butt instance, which is good news in a way because we're not dealing with a tornado. But Colgate is in the immediate path about 8:06 for that old circulation to arrive. So there's your storm tracker for that. And movement on this is northeast about 32 miles per hour. It does have hail up to about an inch. Back to our storm that does have a better look of a potential tornado. This is Savannah's in the main path of that one. And it's moving to the east at 26 miles per hour. And there's another tornado tag on all of these warnings, as a matter of fact. I think we're going to see this from this point forward. And it's just because you saw in Dallas, those things can spin up in a minute and they're gone, right? So if they put a tornado possible tag in there, it's kind of like, hey, it was a severe thunderstorm warning. You should have taken it serious because sometimes severe thunderstorms can produce a tornado. So this is kind of in that instance. This was the old school frame of thought from decades to years ago. Nowadays, they really try to separate the two, tornado versus severe. But in some cases, that's not possible. In convoluted, complicated events, especially when radar data may be a little garbled. So this is the reason I think why they're kind of going back to the old school way of just erring on the side of caution. And that's just kind of how that works. But that's around Kiowa, and let's go back to the velocity data. Let's see here. So here between Kiowa and Pittsburgh, that might be a potential circulation center there. The problem is the data's in that area where it's a little less certain. Yeah, it's okay. We should be okay. See, that's embedded mess. That's not a typical classic look at all, and I think that's why the uncertainty here on the warning. All right, let me go to my other radar for Savannah. That circulation has not tightened up any further. It's still weak in speed-wise, and it's still slightly a little broad, which is great. It's good news. That means the odds of a tornado are very, very, very low right now. But where it would potentially occur, let's see, the algorithm's only at 4%, so it's very low. Road 3 and Road D is those intersection roads. This is on, there's a highway here. Well, it looks like a highway. It's Sea Tree Road. It spikes off of 31 to the north of it. So 31 is kind of named a couple of different roads up here, but 31 runs kind of west-east, and then that Sea Tree Road comes south out of that. And this is northwest of Savannah by about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 miles, 5 miles between those. So as the crow flies, depending on how this moves, it could move something like this. If it were to produce a tornado and strengthen, it could move more easterly, or it could stay kind of where it is and move more northeasterly. So this is the cone, if you will, of potential movement for this storm that could quickly become tornadic. All right, let's see what else we got down here. That is the only storm, by the way, in the state that is technically tornadic, or at least has a tornado warning on it. This one down here is a probability of a tornado of 33%. think that may be the highest I've seen so far here. But the data looks terrible. Remember, these algorithms, they're research based, so they're not gonna they're gonna be infallible. Wait, or not infallible. How do you say that? Is that reverse negative? They can fail. They're not perfect. So another point Weather Service was just mentioning was the very heavy rainfall rates for flash flooding in this cluster of storms up here. It's a very slow-moving cluster, very large. If I put this in motion, you can see how it's been moving kind of from a southwest to northeastern fashion over the period of about 2 hours. It's been very slow-moving, so you're going to get quite a bit of rainfall with this from that aspect. Okay. If you're checking in from Tulsa and you're going, hey, how's it looking up here? Well, you're looking fine. You got some storms south of you, south of Muskogee, along I-40, east of Henrietta, and right now you're looking pretty good. Can't rule out some isolated hailstorms popping up, a little bit more north toward you, but for the most part, it looks like things are staying mostly to the south of you. But the only threat you would have would be for a few hailstorms trying to get developing later on this evening. But as the time goes on, we're going to find out if the high-res models are right or wrong in that development. Speaking of which, let me take a look at how the new models are handling this activity. Let me do a little refresh here. Okay, so we're going to take this through time. And, okay. All right, so your take home here in this printout is the model's favor of very intense supercell from around Wichita Falls, crossing over the Red River, heading toward Ardmore, producing some hail and wind along its path. I don't believe there'll be a tornado potential with this, but we'll watch it. That's the big hail producer we looked at in the data from prior runs. It also favors a pretty intense storm down here just south of McAlester. That may be potentially tornadic, some type of cluster. And then there's that secondary batch up here that we're looking at now that's running around McAlester and then points to the east on I-40 toward Fort Smith through its life cycle. So the models are favoring this track of storms that we're watching at, this cluster, and then a new cluster down here. Well, it's not new, we just saw it on radar, but that eventually apparently gets a little bit better organized and moves east and has some monkey business with it. And then we're watching that big hailmaker down here, and of course the stuff down in Texas. So that's how that particular radar or model is interpreting things. And let's see here. This is kind of what you're used to looking at. I was showing you the updraft helicity rotational potential. Okay, quit that. And you can see how it would look like on a velocity, or excuse me, reflectivity panel, which is what we're used to looking at with radar. It's just a cluster of a mess. So it's not discrete cells, and that helps to limit the tornado potential. But embedded within that, we're probably going to get these couple of spin-ups. But you can see how those develop. Now, here's interesting. Look up around Oklahoma City. You see that? And look at Tulsa. You see that? And this is around 10 o'clock. So 9:30 to 10 o'clock, this particular high-resolution short-term model seems to favor some storm development here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa during this middle evening hours for some hail. And that was a potential in the forecast. So if that does happen, don't be surprised. It's just be a very rare occurrence and very hard to do here in the Oklahoma City area. Much easier in Tulsa, given the environment. But that's what the model seems to suggest could happen. So we'll have to see. Let's see what else I want to show you. Oh, matter of fact, we could show potential hail size categories for large hail. All right, so we call the hail cast. In other words, hailstones greater than 2 inches. The probability of those. If you notice, they're going to be down here in the southeastern little snippet if you draw a line from McAlester south and then points east on 40, it's going to be in that little corridor here. You see those little colors that pop up? Those are hail stones projected to be about 2 inches or more in diameter for those severe storms that move into western Arkansas before dying out slowly over the midnight onward hour. All right, now let's take a look at winds greater than 50 knots. Same idea, same area. You can see Fort Smith's got a big bullseye on it for winds greater than 50 knots, so damaging winds there from that cluster of storms. Another favorite area down south. Oh, by the way, what did that... let's go to the smaller hail, the 1-inch hail. Let's see if it picks up anything here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. See how it treats those storms. Okay, so those storms, it does say, the little colors here, you can barely make it out, very faint. Those couple of storms that try to develop elevated here, just east-northeast of Oklahoma City, heading toward Tulsa, does have some radar indication of about 1 inch in diameter, so that matches up well with the forecast from earlier. And then there's that big beast of a hail maker down here, southern Oklahoma, and it only actually has a hail size of 1 inch in diameter, so it's actually keeping that pretty tame. And then of course a lot of 1-inch hail in southeast Oklahoma anyway, along with some of the big hailstones. Let's see what else we got in here. So updraft helicity, which is the lowest level rotation for these storms, still same spot down here in that southeastern section of Oklahoma, moving into Fort Smith. So that's your best zone for potential tornado development, according to the model data. Let's see anything else. I think that's about it. There's a lot more stuff on here, but spend the whole night on there. All right, let's get a check here of how things look. Storm still ranging from Wynnewood to Ada to Calvin to Allen. Here's that heavy storm down here near Clarita. Probability of a tornado still holding right around 30%, around Bromide. Let's see, anything in the wind field? No, not yet. All right, let's go to Stringtown, Toka County. Nope, nothing there tornadic-wise. Probability of a tornado is only 2% anyways. All right, this is a big cluster of a mess, so the algorithm isn't going to predict any tornadoes in that. Let's give it a 1%. Even though the track here for the line of potential tornadic activity went right over Savannah, is now kind of on the east side of town, it looks like. So that's going to put it over more, probably looks like open land. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so basically it's right here. It's over nothing but just open farmland, some trees, there's a pond. And it passed, kind of looks like just on the south end of town. So if you guys are in Savannah, you can, I'd still stay in your shelters because there's a couple things here that may be happening. Let me look at it before I speak too soon. Okay, so there actually is two things here. All right, so the original old circulation, which still hasn't done anything as far as I know, radar is still pretty weak on it, is actually still west of town. What I was looking at was a new circulation trying to wrap up on the east side, and that would rotate back through for you guys on the east side. So we'll see what manages with that, but you should be in your shelters anyway for this one coming up from the west. So let's see if anything comes out of this, what would be a potentially new mesocyclone rotating back in to the main storm. It's basically one big shear axis. From here to here is a big shear axis of spin-ups. So at any point in time, something within that could misbehave. So far it's not, which is good news. Now at some point, Oh, where are we at? 7,000 feet, 7,800 feet. I really need to be down below to track tornadoes. We're kind of at the edge of the usefulness of the radar beam in this area. Let me see here. Fort Smith. Man, we're in the dead man zone of radar coverage, unfortunately. There's nothing we can do about it. I'm equidistant from all three NextRad sites, and McAlester is just the way it's always been for you. You're just, no matter which radar I use from Fort Smith or Tulsa or Oklahoma City, the beam elevation is up around above 5,000 feet, between that and 10,000. So it's just, we can't get a good low-level scan. So we have to depend upon emergency management reports in the field to get a better, account of what's happening at the surface. All we can do is see if the mid-level winds up here really strengthen. Then we can then kind of infer that the low-level circulation is strengthening, then issue a warning. So this warning may never pan out as a result of that weakness, and that's fine, but that's the way it is. Until an act of God happens and there's some new NextRad site put down here in southeastern Oklahoma and around Pushmataha or McCurtain County, something like that, which will never happen because it's been tried. But until that or that day were to happen, it's just a weakness that's going to continue. So you're always going to get kind of a little bit overworn in that area. But always treat a tornado warning seriously just in case, because it's the best we can do. And other cities that are much closer to radars, it's much easier. A lot less guesswork, a lot less overwarning. But in this little area of the country, it's a pickle. By the way, I'm glancing down here at Facebook, and I'm seeing a lot of you send me some stars, so I appreciate that. So I see you there, Chris and Amanda, throwing some love my way. And Dina got the headsets booming. 500 stars. Thank you, Dina. I always appreciate those, just so you know. Let's go back into Dallas, see what's happening down there. Let's see here. We'll do both of those. Get an update. Since not much is happening with that Oklahoma storm right now. Okay, let me get my bearings about me here for this one. This old circulation in Weston. Still nothing to write home about. That's fine with me. It's more of a shear axis, so it's just a convergent flow of wind versus a tight couplet. So not really a well-defined immediate tornado threat, but what area of spin there would be in any potential type of wall cloud look to it, which is you wouldn't see it because it's covered in heavy rain. It's just south of Weston by about a mile, and it'll pass just to the north of Anna, about a mile. So that would be the track you stay in your shelters for up here north of Dallas. All right, let's go down south of Dallas. Remember, Dallas-Fort Worth lucked out. You guys missed it. They went north and south of you. This storm here in Grandview, Rio Vista, Covington is a big one. It's been a complicated mess as well. As a matter of fact, I talked about how this back end was trying to form a new hook echo. If you notice, that's exactly what's happened. So it's still under a redevelopment stage. So we'll see what happens back in this area. There is an old circulation here. Let's see. There's two circulation centers. They're both weak, but they're there. So this one is right along South Road 171, Highway 171. It's probably just moved to the northeast of there by about 2 miles. And then you have another circulation just southwest of Grandview. Both of these are over, looks like some open land. You see all this? Open farmland for both of these. Perfect. No one in the path. So even though it's kind of weak on radar, that's the way it looks. So if you live in Grandview, the storm is approaching in the next 10 minutes. So stay in your shelter. For this back end one, the one that's just to your southwest is only a couple minutes away, so stay in your shelters for that one too. Let's see here. Yeah, since there were so many cell mergers and stuff in here, it weakened it overall, and it's just kind of a cluster. Let's see. This report was 25 minutes ago, and this one was even more so. This one was about 7 minutes ago, moderately rotating wall cloud. So he's looking at this little spot somewhere in this region, more than likely. He might be looking at this little circulation here. So when he says it's a rotating wall cloud, that means it's not a tornado. That was just a few minutes ago. So that's good news, and that jives with the velocity data in the radar. I actually have a stronger wind field signature here in this Grandview storm. So if you guys are waiting on this one to arrive, the one right knocking on your door has more of a better look to it. Another storm further south from there, and that's it. So basically 2 clusters now, the one south of Sherman, north of McKinney, and then the one here south of west of Dallas. Okay, and then we've got, of course, our fun stuff back up here in Oklahoma, so let's head back north. McAlester Airport measured a 68-mile-per-hour wind gust. Alright, I'm going to have to switch radars because that one from Oklahoma City has become worthless. But if you look here, Shawnee, Potawatomi, there's some new development back here in the cold air. This is behind the cold front. Now remember, some of these are going to have a little bit of hail with them. Here's a little signature here northeast of Edmond. So maybe the show starting, the models indicated here in parts of central Oklahoma up toward Tulsa for this evening for a little bit of hail, so keep that in mind. Alright, let me go to, I'll try Fort Smith. We're going to see how this goes. Also keep in mind I broadcast all of this in 1080p HD so you can cast it to your favorite big screen device. Just don't zoom into my pores. I don't wear makeup here. I used to wear makeup for, was it 12 years? That was not fun. That stuff's like cake, man. Getting it off, it's ridiculous. So tornado sirens are activated in Haleyville for that tronic storm, just so you know. And radar is switching over. So I'm going to see what kind of elevation I have and the look with the data that I have with this one. We'll see if it's any better as soon as it loads up. I'm at 7,000 feet elevation, so like I said, it didn't really help me any, but we'll at least take a look and see how things look with the data. Still have issues. All right. So from this whole shear zone axis, the favorite area really is right over McAlester. So McAlester used to be in your shelter. Same thing for Alderson. If you want to call it a track of the potential tornado, it should be around Krebs on the east side. And the data is terrible, guys. I'm telling you. So there's no certainty in that outcome. Spotter north of Savannah estimated winds of around 80 to 85 miles per hour about 7 minutes ago. Now on radar, the best winds I have, there's 59, there's 57 miles per hour, and that's at 7,000 feet. So we're not even able to see the wind speeds at the surface for the lowest level. So I'll see if this radar shows anything like that, and then I'm going to switch it on this program as well. And it doesn't. Shocker. Alright, so we're going to switch radar sources here to Fort Smith. So what I do is I just pick various NextRad radar sites around the state, whichever one is closest to the storms that we're looking at, so I can get the best data coverage. Alright, so on this particular tornado warned storm, let's get what the latest at least is in the wording, because the velocity data does not help. I can see the Weather Service is even having trouble as to where to put the track, just because there's no decent data with it. But here we're looking at, for the storm itself, through Haleyville at 8:05, and remember there's a tornado warning sign sounded for that one. Hartshorn, Alderson, Quinton, Kenta, and Whitefield all in the next half hour. Wording on this, let's see here. So it's a flash flood warning also for that same area, by the way. Trying to get to the tornado warning box. Here we go. Moving northeast at about 58 miles per hour. This has now become a fast mover. Tornado is radar indicated. So here's a little bit of the winds I see starting to show up. There's about 60 to 70 in a little small area. Both around Krebs, there's about 60 mile per hour winds. And then here east of Alderson, there's 71, 72 mile per hour winds. The actual, technically, where the best spot of a tornado would be is back here over McAlester. That's where the velocity data rotates back in this fashion. So the spinning motion, albeit still weak, is the old spot is over McAlester. There could always be a new spin up, and that would be favored in this area. We have these really strong winds here, and then usually we'll have something funny going on, like a new meso developing, or maybe a wall cloud or a funnel or something in this region, and that would rotate back in this shear zone. But so you kind of have two areas to watch for, and this obviously has the stronger winds on the east side, pretty good winds here east on the side of McAlester, and then McAlester on the west side, the back end of the circulation, which might just be like one big large bowl just kind of spinning around versus like a tornado. So power lines are down in Savannah. Possible power lines down in McAlester is coming in. If we look at the wind speeds here, we're at 65, 67 miles per hour east of Anderson by about 2 miles. And there's pockets of 60 mile per hour winds up here, east side of McAlester and northeast from there. So if we look at some of the roads, Hereford Lane, around McAlester, Northwest Church Street, out here in Anderson, it's Bach Road, East Road 1545. So those are where your strongest winds are, the damaging winds with this storm. This circulation center seems to be kind of on a track of something like this. So that's going to put up here toward McCurtain here another hour and be passing south of Quinton here in about another probably 30 minutes. Alright, again, that's the only tornadic storm in the state, or at least, let's just put it this way, the only storm with a tornado warning. There hasn't been any confirmation of a tornado yet with it. It's just all been radar indicated potential. And remember, it's at the limitation of the radar beam. And then back here looks like some hail makers for you guys in Shawnee. So it says hail detected, looks like size about 1 inch, which is what the that short-term model suggested. So in Fort Smith, won't be much longer. Let's see, what time is it? 8 o'clock. So by 10 o'clock, these storms here are going to start to knock on your door. These storms here on Muskogee should be crossing over at 10 o'clock into the state line. And these down here southwest still have a ways to go, but also making its way toward midnight. Diane, I see you sending me 1,000 stars. Appreciate you. Casey's in the house. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the stars tonight. Brielle, Debbie, Chris, Amanda. See Rachel, Leslie, Tiffany, gotcha. Michelle, gotcha. So there is some reports of flooding and debris on the south side of McAlester. So that would be from the damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour, and then the flash flooding is from the heavy rainfall. We can try to estimate the rain. Let's do that. What's happened so far today. We'll take a look at the mesonet and see what it's produced. Alright, so the mesonet has produced, it's not going to pick up those teeny tiny areas, but it has an inch to close to 2 inches in some of these areas down here in this little swath in southern southeastern Oklahoma. So the brief flash flooding is from runoff, looks like, from just getting a very heavy rainfall rate in a short amount of time versus just a prolonged over and over raining event. But flash flooding can happen in many ways. Okay, so that's good. Let me look at a couple of things here. Let's see, let's go back. Is this a new discussion? Yeah, large hail threat continues. This was about 20 minutes ago. With isolated tornadoes also possible, the severe wind threat may increase across eastern Oklahoma this evening. Large hail threat continues. Numerous golf ball size hail reports have been received over the past hour or two. Large hail remains possible with the more discrete supercells currently in north central Texas. Low level flow is not overly strong, but recent bad wind profiles from Fort Worth radar shows around 100 to 150 meters per second square of 0 to 1 kilometer shear relative helicity, which should be sufficient for low-level rotation. Indeed, one supercell to the south of Metroplex as of this hour has recently produced a tornado. Isolated tornadoes remain possible across the tornado watch for at least a couple more hours with somewhat better potential with at least semi-discrete storms. Farther north into southeastern Oklahoma, storms have mostly congealed into a cluster. All severe hazards appear possible with this activity in the short term, but severe damaging winds may become an increasing concern this evening across parts of eastern Oklahoma if upscale growth into a bow echo occurs along and south of a surface front. All right, so there you go. There you have it. Let's take a look here. I can also take a look at the wind speeds in the mesonet. Let's see if anything's jumped out on max wind gusts. No, there's some 40s, but nothing out of control. There's about a 53 in central Oklahoma. Alright, let's see what else we got. The environment east of this, let's see. Everything checks off for potential tornado here, all these different categories except for effective shear, which is too low. Effective helicity is also barely in the outskirts. So we're missing a few ingredients for a good tornado atmosphere. Significant tornado, we're of course missing all those ingredients, or a lot of them. A cluster, a discrete or cluster event, which is kind of like a little bow echo mini squall line. We probably meet just about as many as we did on the potential for a weak tornado. And then QLCS type tornadoes. Let's see here. We meet all of those and barely. Okay, so what that means is we transition to a line echo wave pattern or bow echo type output. You end up with some QLCS type tornadoes. You end up with straight line wind damage. Seems to be the atmosphere transition point from this. So that's what we're going to see unfold, I think, which helps to limit, like the supercell type tornadoes, which means that damage is more minimal. All right, let's see what we got here. If you look at the low-level circulation tracker, you can see how it went right over McAlester for that little section we're watching, but it's in the yellow, it's not in the red, which means it's fairly weak. This stuff down here that was in the red, near Colgate I think it was, this may have been radar contaminated, some of this, but that was also in the early stages of one of those first tornado warnings, so some of it may be the jet for a very brief spot. But overall, it's not bad. Most of this event has behaved and has been benign when it comes to tornadoes here in the state, so that's good. Let's see. Still some rough storms there popping up east of Purcell with some hail in them. Near Pearson, Tecumseh, just east of Shawnee, so some hail makers there. Let's see, I did not go back and check my chasers because of course they got dark and I don't think either one of them was in position, but I'll do a reload here and see. Yeah, he was near Mevo earlier. And he's got a little something. Nope, that was from earlier. So he's driving through flooded rain at this point. Alright. Looks like he ended anyways. Okay, let's take a look at the latest high resolution HER model. See, was it 8 o'clock? Alright, so this is the cluster of storms it has across southeast Oklahoma near McAlester. And let's see what it does with it. It moves that cluster east and then it blows up this little hail corridor kind of in the vicinity where it's currently starting to happen. This would be the leftover frontal zone in here. So it's kind of developing along the frontal zone, then kind of going over the front in the cooler air this way. So this is all elevated stuff with a hail signature on it. So that's through 10 o'clock. There's 11 o'clock, 12, midnight. So this keeps it all east of Oklahoma City. The closest it looks like it gets to is maybe Tinker, Choctaw. Otherwise, it's east of us, on in toward the Tulsa area. I like that outlook better. And it's got some more hail poppers down here in southeast Oklahoma, but the big line has already moved into Arkansas, the potential tornado line. And that's it. Some elevated stuff here overnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Might get some tiny pea-sized hail out of that, otherwise just some brief showers. And that rolls on through in the morning hours. So this event is quickly becoming less and less serious in magnitude overall when it comes to tornadoes. Take a look at this down here in Dallas. That northern one, they let that one expire and it's weakened. It's gone off to the north. And then this one down here in Grandview, let's take a look at it. Coming into Waxahachie area. Okay, so this one's got a couple of interesting circulation looks to it. So when it was over Grandview, rapid rotation a half mile, bowl-shaped funnel overhead. This guy calls it a cone-shaped funnel. These guys can't even agree on what they're seeing. They're both the same spot. Let's go here with time, and then let's see what happens to it. So that circulation tracks up here. It's crossing over this Norfolk Chambers Creek stream. This is west of Maypearl by about 10 miles. County Road 104, Dowd Road in that area. And it's very weak. I don't think it's tornadic at this point, but it's probably still what those guys said, which is a lowering, a wall cloud, and maybe a potential funnel. Now remember, a funnel is not a tornado. It has to touch down. And a lot of times you get funnels briefly, and they never touch down. So that's good. But regardless, that's the tornado warning down here south of Dallas. So Maypearl, you need to stay in your shelters. Grandview, you can come out of yours. The storm is passed now to your east. And then Waxahachie is under the big overall polygon as the storm eventually works its way toward you. All right, let's go back into Oklahoma. How's this one looking? So this one's looking a little stronger on the inbound wind. Okay, so this is now, we're well east of McAlester now. This is northwest of Wilburton. It's still a confluence shear zone. In other words, it's linear, elongated. So your shear kind of bounds up in this region. What we typically look for when we're looking for tornadoes, we're looking for, a spot here and a spot here. Two spots back to back, very small. So when you see this, it's not a tornado signature, it's just more of an elongated shear axis. And sometimes you can get a little spin up form in this. And then maybe too small to detect on radar, especially if it's far away. But other than that, it's not necessarily tornadic. And this is about 1, 2, 3 miles northwest of Wilburton, coming up on Highway 2 and the Force Main Malign Stream. Force Malign Stream. And what is that? Hackney Hill. So that would be that position of this potential tornadic circulation. If I look back in time, see this little green dot that shows up, last 2 frames? This is a better indication. Oh, and it just went away. That it was strengthening, and then it's gone. Yeah, it's having a hard time, which is fine by me, but it's having a hard time producing a tornado. Let's go check the wording on this. Let's see, from the latest Weather Service, 8:14 p.m., so a couple minutes ago. Tornado warning remains in effect until 8:30 for northwestern Latimer County. A severe storm with a strong low-level rotation that could produce a tornado at any time was located 4 miles southwest of Robbers Cave State Park, moving east at 40. It's radar indicated, and those in the path: Wilburton, Panola, and Robbers Cave State Park. Be in your shelters. Overall, the severity of the storm has dwindled quite a bit when it comes to even the hail, which is good. All right, what are these guys down here doing? Anything? Nope. So that's the only game in town, tornadic-wise, east of McAlester. What's going on down here in Texas? There are some storms. It's off the radar view, but they're down here in these boxes, and they're all moving east. So it doesn't look like they would move across Red River from this area. We'd have to just get some development backyard from the front. That looks like that's too far south to me. Let me see if Fort Worth has them better. Yeah. Yep. So there's moving due east, so that should stay south of Red River. You do have these guys that's crossing over. That's got some hail in it, a little over an inch, inch and a quarter. So Durant, Medill, Boswell, you'll probably get a little bit of hail out of some of these that move across. All right, this one down here in Dallas, how's it looking? Nah, it's lined out, become more linear. There's a little indentation here, little one there. Should not be enough to produce a tornado though. And this back end hook is not doing anything either. So this one's weakened quite a bit, undergone some different changes. So that's good for you guys in Waxahachie and up tide 35 down there to north of Italy. But it is a strong storm. It is a supercell. It does have a history of at least producing a tornado at one point a long time ago, and it's got some funnels with it, at least supposedly, or in a wall cloud. So it's still trying. One west of there, probability of a tornado is 20%. It doesn't look like anything either. So that's good news for you guys south of Dallas. Alright, let's go back home. Hey, Facebook just told me, watch this video on your TV to enjoy on a bigger screen. Hit the button to start casting. Well, thanks, Facebook, for telling me that. Alright, so if you live out here in southeastern Oklahoma, we're watching these little scattered storms. Most of them are your garden variety, barely severe storms here for Oklahoma, wind and hail. And then we're watching just the one around Wilburton that has potential for a tornado. To my knowledge, it has not produced one at all in the last hour or so that it's had a warning on it. The warning is for the potential of it being able to do so. Location of the convergence area is east of Highway 2 now. It's over some more open land. I'm telling you, every time I pull up these guys, they're over open trees. Like, it's over trees, man. There's nothing out here. It's great. No anxiety needed. It's tornado over open farmland and trees. Well, not even a tornado. It's just the area where one would form. So that's good. So if you were in Wilburton, you can come out of your shelters. It's the areas to your north now. So I'm debating whether not just to hang with this, just to see if it eventually does something as it moves in eastern Oklahoma, or just kind of let it go and then get back on and go live again, which is probably what I'm going to do so I can rest my voice. It hasn't done anything, and I've been watching it. The probability is 2% for a tornado, but that algorithm isn't going to do very well anyway in this environment. I'm just not seeing much development out of it. Let's see, when does this thing expire? 8:30, so 7 more minutes. I don't think they're going to reissue. Let's see. What else do we have? What's going on here in Muskogee? Let's take a look at this one. Believe it or not, there's a tiny little circulation right here at Keefton, just north of there. This little baby hook actually has a little rotation area with it. Very weak, but at least it has something. Let's see, where are we at? 4,600 feet. I need to switch over to the Tulsa radar to get a better look, so we'll do that. Now this is behind the cold front, but the cold front may not be very deep here in depth. And if conditions are just right, sometimes those tornadoes can still happen a little behind the front if it's an environment like this. So it's worth taking a look at. J, storms are re-back building in Oklahoma City. Yep, they are. At least getting close. Yeah, here are the storms out here in Oklahoma, near Oklahoma City. They're back out here to Shawnee and Boley and Bristow, and there's some showers here for just north and east of Edmond, building up. All right, let's go take a look here at the new data for Muskogee. Look at that. So that little circulation that could died out. Let's see, where are we at now? We're at 2,700 feet. Much better. There is still a little convergence here in this area, but so weak it would not produce a tornado. But that would be where you might see type of a wall cloud, or lowering that might have some rotation to it. But that would be something to watch in that area if it were to strengthen or intensify. And that would move into the Braggs area here in just a couple minutes. Anyway, something to look at. And then let's go down here to Wilburton. Same look to that one. So, all right. So this is what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to kind of watch this behind the scenes, and that way, if anything happens again, I'll do another live cut in, and then we'll track a tornado as it moves into far eastern Oklahoma, into western Arkansas. 8:30 so far. There's still a couple hours left for this potential activity to do something. But right now it has not. So I'm going to take a break, and thank you guys for watching and liking and sharing the video. And if you get another live notification from me, well, you know why that is. It means because there's going to be a tornado warning coming out, or maybe developing. Let's see. They're going to let the warning expire, by the way, the National Weather Service down here. So that's good. So that means that one near Wilburton, they're going to let that one go. We're just not doing anything. So that means no tornado warnings left in the state. And with that, I will bid you adieu. And hopefully I won't see you again. Don't take that the wrong way. All right, good night, everybody.